from our Tasmanian headquarters, this is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening everyone and welcome to Southern Cross News. The federal opposition leader Bill Shorten is stepping up his attempt to win over Tasmanians visiting the state for the second time in just over a week. But Labor is under fire tonight for postponing its state conference. The Liberals accusing the party of having something to hide before Northwest Coasters go back to the polls next month.
Taking the by-election campaign to Burnie's heartland, pitching a promise to help upgrade West Park and improve the lighting, scoreboard and change rooms.
Certainly $350,000 will give us a really good start.
This oval is part of life in Burnie and part of sporting history, but it also should be part of the sporting future and community future for Burnie and the surrounding areas.
Bill Shorten says the $350,000 will be made available
straight away
if Labor wins the next general federal election.
It's about injecting money into this ground so that we can support not only the people that are playing here now, but women in sport as well.
They can promise anything they like, but they can't deliver it. The only person who can deliver for the people of Braddon after the 28th of July is Brett Whiteley.
The Liberals also slamming the Labor Party for postponing its Tasmanian conference. The annual gathering of the Red Faithful was to be held early in July, but due to the Braddon by-election, now won't be held for 2 months.
Like they did in Victoria, where they put all of their motions that were a bit controversial behind closed doors, they're doing the same thing here.
We don't want to have a conference where we have hundreds of our most active volunteers tied up in a conference room in Hobart when there's a by-election taking place at the other end of the state. We want people to be focused on that by-election.
Tasmanian Labor leader Rebecca White was nowhere to be seen today. Mr Shorten says he fully supports her.
Yeah, I do.
Despite speculations, David O'Byrne may try to take Ms White's leadership at the state conference. Labor says the date change has nothing to do with its state election review.
That review is underway. It's not yet completed.
Monika Dadson, Southern Cross News.
The handing down of the state budget is now just over 1 week away. The government travelled to Oatlands today to spruik its education spend, but opponents are already saying it's not going far enough.
It's farm schools such as this one set to benefit from next week's state budget. But with just over a week until the big day, the government is being criticised for its lack of new spending announcements following the March election. The Education Minister spruiking school funding at Oatlands today.
As you know, we're also over the next 6 years, we'll be employing 250 new additional teachers into our public education system.
That again is a re-announcement of an announcement that he made during the election campaign. So again, it's nothing new.
$13 million of the education spend to go towards funding for 15 of Tasmania's farm schools.
The kids have shown so much interest in having the farm here. Like, it's such a great opportunity for farm kids or for any kids.
But concerns are already being raised over a teaching shortage, with more needed to strengthen Tasmania's education system.
It goes nowhere near addressing the root of the cause and the real problem. There's still a lot more that needs to be done in education to ensure that Tasmanians are getting a world-class education system.
The Tasmanian Education Union today welcoming the push for more teachers, but saying there was still significant need for additional staff, including social workers and psychologists.
So it's not just about the numbers of teachers. They're increasing, they have increased, it will continue to increase, but it's also the support that we can provide our schools.
The budget will be handed down on June 14. Michelle Wisby, Southern Cross News.
The state of Tasmania's health system is again centre stage tonight, with criticism the increasing escalation levels in our hospitals are now the new normal. The unions say they are concerned another unexpected increase in patients could prove fatal. But the state government says new beds opening up in the next few weeks will ease the problem.
The weather might be cooling down, but the heat's ramping up against the government over the state of our health system.
It's still at crisis point and we need to see urgent action now because the situation is going to get worse in the coming months.
Despite the Royal Hobart Hospital shifting from level 4 to level 3 of its escalation plan, the system's still under intense criticism, with claims that higher levels are now the new norm.
Even at level 3, there is enormous pressure on our health workers to keep the hospital operating operating at a level that provides good services to people.
Look, there are obviously peaks of demand, especially during winter. That's why we have a winter plan to deal with increased needs.
The Tasmanian Health Service says the higher levels follow a surge in admissions and a lack of discharges over the past 24 hours, and that escalations is normal protocol in managing increasing demands and a way for staff to call for extra resources and backup.
The major concern is that if there is an outbreak, a flu outbreak or a gastro outbreak, that the Tasmanian Health Service will not be able to cope and that ultimately patients will be worse off and that we could even see lives lost as a result of this.
The Premier says his government has put preventative measures in place to combat issues faced during last year's horror flu season.
We are obviously rebuilding the Royal Hobart Hospital as we speak, but while that's occurring, we're going to open 22 new beds at the Repat Hospital. They'll be online within a matter of weeks.
Louise Hedger, Southern Cross News.
A 44-year-old man remains in a critical but stable condition after he was struck by a car while walking across the Brooker Highway. The pedestrian was taken to the Royal Hobart Hospital on Friday night after he was hit on the 100 km/h stretch of road at Claremont. The man has undergone several hours of surgery since the incident. Tasmanian students have bridged the gap between science and fun in a statewide bridge building competition. Using little more than popsicle sticks, students built structures strong enough to support a small train, but not every design remained in one piece.
The brief was simple: build a bridge and get over it. The catch, it had to be done with popsicle sticks and sticky tape and be strong enough to withstand the bridge buster.
It's about teamwork and it's about thinking outside the square.
Schools from across the state entered the Science and Engineering Challenge, but only 8 made it to today's final. Sacred Heart College among the hopefuls.
Not so sure. I saw the other bridges and people were doing quite well.
All good at first, before the team met its match. While Devonport High School's durable design only failed at the final weight. But the team from Launceston Christian School will fly the flag for Tassie later this year at the national final in Darwin.
A lot of teamwork comes into it and not getting angry at each other, just getting it done.
The school was the judges' final pick after performing well in both the bridge building and a series of other engineering challenges during the day. Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
With Dark Mofo just days away, artists are preparing to converge on Hobart. But one British performer, Muhammad Manwar Ali, described as a scholar, teacher and peace activist, is still awaiting his entertainment visa despite not having a criminal record. Mr Ali is due to take part in Dark and Dangerous Thoughts this weekend to share his opinions on preventing radicalisation and terrorism. Mona says it is evaluating the best options to have his voice heard during the festival. Hobart trampoline gymnast Damien Axelsen's dream of making the Australian team for the World Championships in September looks all but certain to come to fruition after the 25-year-old secured gold at the recent Australian Gymnastics Championships in Melbourne in the men's double mini trampoline event.
Did one of my best passes to date to finish on the competition, so really good way to finish that one out and I think hopefully a well-deserved gold medal.
Axelsen battling through injury to claim the win, having blown out his knee just 2 weeks before the event. Vegetation is being restored for Tasmania's largest frog species, the green and gold frog, for today's World Environment Day. More than 350 trees have been planted near the Tamar River to provide a safe refuge for the species. The once common green and gold frog is now listed as vulnerable due to habitat loss, disease and predators.
Once the trees get bigger and we get logs on the ground, it will give them areas to feed and forage and hibernate and bask in the sun.
The number of green and gold frogs in the state has dropped by more than 20% in the past 10 years. Tasmanian students are helping their peers understand mental health in a special program involving 9 schools. Now in its second year, the Brainwaves Forum creates practical ways of identifying and managing mental health issues.
Students were very energised about the things that they learnt on the day, and they did take their plans back to their school communities.
Organisers say mental health continues to be a concern among school students.
And now to the RACT Insurance Player of the Year in the TSL after round 10, with Phil Bell-Chambers judged best on during Lauderdale's win over the Blues. Ryan Bailey's impressive season continued, racking up the votes in the Roos' easy win against the D's, while Bombers premiership defender Jay Foon's experience shone through against the Pies. To the leaderboard, and Ryan Bailey is 1 vote clear up top, ahead of North Launceston's Taylor Whitford, with Glenorchy's Daniel Joseph sitting in 3rd. 2 young Hobart sailors are preparing to test themselves against the best in the business at the world's most fiercely competitive regattas, and some solid results could go a long way towards realising their Olympic dreams. At just 19 years old, Jasmine Galbraith and Chloe Fisher are a force to be reckoned with on the water.
I always said to Jasmine that we always know what each other's thinking, so that makes it quite easy for teamwork sort of things on the water, even off the water.
Claiming bronze at last year's World Youth Championships in China, the pair got their first taste of the international stage.
We were so surprised at the start line. In Tassie it's really quiet and everyone's sort of mates with each other, and then we get there and there's all these girls yelling and screaming, and we were like, never experienced it before.
Preparing themselves for another first, Jasmine and Chloe will head off to Europe in 2 weeks for the annual Kielweek Regatta in Germany, followed by the European Championships in Poland, before doing battle with the best of the best at the World Sailing Championships in Denmark.
All the girls we're competing against are in the mid-20s, and they've obviously got a lot more experience than us, but it's a good challenge and we're excited to line up against them and just give it our best shot. Always wanted to sail this class of boat, the 49er FX, and so getting over to go to Europe and race against some of the best in the world is pretty much a dream. Yeah.
The ultimate dream, however, the 2020 Olympic Games in Tokyo, one well worth braving the bitter cold conditions of the River Derwent for.
You just have to put all your clothes on and just keep warm as best you can, keep your toes and fingers warm.
Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance news with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. The Australian share market has closed lower due to falls in the energy and mining sectors caused by falls in commodity prices. The ASX 200 index has dropped by 30.6 points. Short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 76.34 US cents and 108.58 New Zealand cents.
Good evening. Temperatures generally close to average today. Hobart and Burnie 13, Launceston and Devonport recording 14 degrees, -3 the low at Lyowini, Cressy and Fingal, while today's maximum 15 at Friendly Beaches and King and Flinders Islands. Smithton and Low Head 14, St Helens and Strawn 13, Grove and Ouse a top of 11. Patchy cloud today, with that cloud hanging on over the south until mid-afternoon, as well as developing over the northwest later in the day. A wider look shows more patchy low-level cloud over eastern Victoria, New South Wales and southeast Queensland. The rest of the country mostly cloud-free apart from the large band over Western Australia. Tomorrow, the 1,036 hectopascal high will still be centred near Tasmania, with ridges over central and eastern Australia. That cold front is over WA with a very big sting in its tail. North to north-easterly winds at 10 to 20 knots, more easterly inshore and over the north, and to 25 knots over the west. And for tomorrow, Hobart a sunny day, 14, 0 overnight for Geeveston, a morning frost, a sunny afternoon, 15 the top, -2 to 12 the temperature range for Bothwell. Launceston, morning fog and frost, a top of 14 later, 15 for Devonport, a shower later in the day, morning frost for Cressy, a top of 12. Burnie tomorrow, shower or two developing, 15 the high, 16 for Strawn and Curry, with sunny weather in the west and on King Island. For St Helens, mostly sunny as well, and 15 for Swansea, Orford, a top of 15 to complete that picture. Thursday now, and showers over the north and developing over western and central areas during the evening. Showers on Friday, mainly over the north and west, very little over the southeast. And on Saturday, light showers over the west and far south, but fine sunny weather for the start of the Bay of Fires Winter Arts Festival. Lots to see and do over the long weekend there. A shower with a possible late storm for Perth, sunny in Adelaide and Melbourne, showers over Canberra and Sydney, and of course a late shower over Brisbane. Clear conditions across the state at the moment. Hobart 7 degrees, Launceston 7 as well, and Devonport 9 degrees and clear. Nearly forgot, Joe, the long weekend is coming up. Looking forward to the big arts festival, the Bay of Fires Arts Festival for winter. It's just getting nice and cold and we can get involved with some of the dance, the activities, the events, the open gardens. There's dance, live music, and we also have it happening right along the east coast from the northern reaches of the Great Eastern Drive, from 4 Mile Creek to St Mary's up through Scamander and all the way to Binnelong Bay. So we're looking forward to that. Lots of information on it. Get on your computer and get on the line.
Get on the line. Not to mention one of the most beautiful parts of Tasmania, indeed Australia. All right, thank you for that, Murph. Well, before we leave you tonight, we've got a story that's sure to leave you feeling warm and fuzzy. Meet the marsupial who might just be the friendliest local on the Freycinet Peninsula. Little Wally was not shy when it came to meeting strangers this morning. The wallaby was happy to get a good scratch, affectionately giving back a few kisses. That's a bit special. Well, that's all from the Southern Cross News team for now. Thanks so much for your company. We'll see you a little later this evening with updates. Good night.
Excellent. Yeah, we've got 3 judges in the room, we've got 4 judges. We're now getting goal out of that goal. 1, go!